Hello everyone, John Elder with the CASService team. Today I'm in our Denver Display Center talking about installing and wiring the manual activation device for the core and electric wet chemical fire systems. The device I'll be showing in this video is for demonstration purposes only and shouldn't be used as an example of a proper install. For more information on how these fire systems work, you can visit our website and click on the Products tab. Before we get started, let's talk safety. It's recommended that you use the proper personal protective equipment for the job, especially the use of eye protection. And remember, when working on any electrical circuit or control panel, be sure to de-energize the circuit at the breaker and verify the circuit is dead with a multimeter before starting any work. The core and electric wet chemical control boards also have a battery backup, which will need to be disconnected as well. Verify that there are no lights on the control board before starting any wiring. You're now ready to start the manual activation device install and wiring. Now let's get started. The manual activation device is used to manually activate the core or electric wet chemical fire suppression system. Once pressed, the normally open contacts close, closing the supervised loop and activating the system. When pressed, the switch will lock into position, preventing the fire system from being reset. To unlock or reset the manual activation device, simply twist the knob to the right and the contacts will open, allowing for a system reset. When installing the manual activation device, you will need 4 16 to 18 gauge wires long enough to run from the manual activation device to the core or EWC control panel, a junction box and conduit, a multimeter, a small flathead and Phillips screwdriver. The manual activation device needs to be mounted at a point of egress 10 to 20 feet away from the hood and 42 to 48 inches above finished floor, but check with your local AHJ for final location approval. The manual activation device is designed to be flush mounted to the wall, so your junction box would have to be inside the wall. If flush mounting is not possible, the junction box can be surface mounted using a separately supplied surface mounting kit. Note, a junction box and conduit must be used for proper installation, and make sure all conduit is deburred to prevent wire chafing. Once the junction box and conduit are properly installed, follow these steps to properly terminate the wires to the manual activation switch. Again, the switch I'm using here is for display purposes only, to be able to clearly show the switch wiring. I use 2 separate 18-2 wire runs from the switch to the core control panel, and I put the 2 green wires under the normally open terminal on the switch and the 2 white wires under the common terminal. I first stripped and installed the 2 white wires under the common terminal of the switch, making sure not to twist the wires together. I'll explain the importance of that shortly. Next, I stripped and installed the 2 green wires into the normally open terminal of the switch, again ensuring not to twist the wires together. Give each wire a tug to ensure all the wires are secure. Now let me explain why we don't twist the wires together. The system utilizes a supervised loop, meaning that we monitor each of the 4 wires for continuity. So if the wires are twisted together and happen to fall out of the switch, the system wouldn't know because that half of the loop would still have continuity, but the switch would not work when needed. Now let me demonstrate the supervised loop monitoring. First, I remove 1 wire from the switch and you see that we get a supervised loop fault. With both wires removed from the same terminal, we still have the fault. But if these wires are twisted together, the fault goes away, but the switch would obviously not work in an emergency, and no one would have known. Complete the install of the switch, ensuring the wires are protected. Center the protective cover over the push button and install with the 4 provided screws. Now for the control panel terminations. First, make sure the AC power is turned off to the panel and the battery supply is unplugged from the circuit board. Strip the 2 wires that were wired to the common terminal on the switch, in this example the 2 white wires, and wire one to terminal 101 and the other to terminal 104. Tighten down each screw and give the wire a little pull to ensure it's secure. Insert the remaining 2 wires from the normally open terminal on the switch, the green wires, one to terminal 102 and the other to terminal 103. Tighten down the screws and give the wire a little pull. Now let's give it a test to ensure we have everything wired correctly and the switch is functioning properly. Set your multimeter to ohms and check between terminals 101 and 104. You should read 0 ohms or continuity. Next, check between terminals 102 and 103. This should also read 0 ohms or have continuity. Finally, conduct the same test between terminals 101 and 102 and between 103 and 104. Both of these tests should show an open circuit. That's it, you're all set. You're now ready to restore the AC power and reconnect the battery backup. For more questions on this or any other products, please call our technical support group at 866-784-6900 or email support@CASService.com.